How y'all doing today, my friends? Welcome to part 18 of the Chris Chan and Alec Benson Leary phone call series. Now, in the last part, we finished up the second to last call, and the next episode, and the one after that, part 18, 19, and 20, are going to be the final phone call here. So, it's been one hell of a ride, and I'm happy y'all have been here this whole time. If you've been here this whole time, I can't imagine anyone would be clicking on part 18 first. But, I just want to say thank y'all for all the support you've given me throughout doing this, and you know where this is about to go. The pages have been drawn, and Chris has showed the Asperpedia 4 getting taken out in some pretty terrible ways by all the Sonichus, because Chris has felt like they've wronged him so bad that he sent them to a public execution. So, a lot's going on here, and it's gonna get pretty wacky, so I hope you guys enjoy it. And with that all being said, full unedited part of this is down in the description below if you want to go see it. Discord's down there, Twitch is down there, and with that out of the way, let's jump right into it.
Hey Chris, it's Alec.
Oh, hi Alec.
Hey, happy birthday.
Okay, well, I was not expecting you.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah. How was your birthday today?
My birthday was yesterday, and it was good.
Oh, it was yesterday?
Celebrated with my family. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, I saw the pages you got uploaded today. What's up with that trial, Chris?
So maybe I jumped the gun on talking about the public execution because we haven't even gotten to the trial yet. And the trial that Alec is speaking about is Chris putting the Asperpedia 4, the aforementioned Alec, Mal, Sean, and Evan, they're on trial for doing all these wrongs to the world of Quickville, They killed Simone LaRose too, they did all this terrible stuff, and now Chris is about to lay the gavel down and really put them in their place. And you're about to find out the reasoning Chris has behind it, and if you've listened to any of this so far, or you know who Chris is in any sense, you know that the reasonings he's about to give are some absolute bullshit.
That was kind of out of left field. I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah, well, you drew me in a setup of being bared false witness from your parody of my science shoe, in comparison of the other Chris being the real one and not me, which I was the real deal. And then you set me on fire. And then recently, you portrayed me getting my head chopped off in a saw blade with gore and detail.
Chris, you didn't read that last page. Did you read the page? Because what happened there was that was a picture of the real you in the comic, and I said, your head got chopped off, but then you came right back and said, no, okay, we were just faking. Your head didn't actually get chopped off. Yeah.
You could have made that more obvious.
Well, if you read the text, it would have been obvious. There was text there. I mean, I spelled it out. I specifically had you say, "Don't worry, this is fake." My head's not really chopped off. I'm fine.
I've been saying it a lot throughout all of these parts, but Chris only hears what he wants to hear. When he's talking to Alec, he only wants to hear the things that he wants to talk about. And in this case, he only sees what he wants to see, because he saw himself getting his head chopped off in the comic and thought, oh man, this friggin' guy, he has committed this atrocity upon me. But he didn't bother reading any further to find out that it was just a joke, because no, the second Chris saw it, he took it for what it was worth and just ran with that shit. I do find it funny, too, that one of the first things he brought up there about a minute ago was that, you drew that other Chris as the real me, bearing false witness. Like, he looked at his identity as some, godly thing, which we know nowadays he totally does. But, it's funny because you hear, this is, I think, the first time in all these calls we've heard a mention to another troll, a mention to Liquid Chris, and you can tell at the times, Chris was still in his feud with Liquid, and Alec must have done something where he drew Liquid as the real Chris, and you know sure as shit that Chris was not having none of that.
You accused me of using, not accused, of using violence. I do use violence, that's true. But I was just it seemed kind of weird that your comic has suddenly taken a very gory turn.
It's just one time.
But you said violence is wrong, though. one
Yeah,
times.
Yeah, well, you did violence unto me. I was just returning the favor.
Oh, revenge is okay though.
See, instead of just admitting he was wrong, which he 100% does not think he is, Chris will always try to find it's some type of excuse, no matter how ridiculous it sounds. Here he's just saying, oh, well, I was just returning the favor on that thing that I was so adamantly against in these past couple parts. This is the same thing he did when Alec brought up the black magic, how he said, Chris, you're a Christian and you use black magic, and Chris would just sigh and say, yeah, well, I'm making up for that. No, how are you the one to say that? You're not God, which once again, we brought it up a minute ago, he does think he is now, but it's just, I don't know. Chris always tries to find some way to get out of things. He always has to. It's his first instinct. Without saying the truth, his first thing he'll think of is, oh shit, how am I going to get out of this without being honest? He hates being honest, and it's funny to say that from the guy who really hangs his hat on being true and honest.
Chris, you said violence is wrong. You didn't say it's okay in the case of revenge. And I'm kind of curious, why is this trial taking place? Why are Alec and Mao and me, or Alec and Mao and Evan and Sean, why are we on trial?
A little slip up there from Alec, forgetting that he's in character. You can see as soon as he realizes he says his own name, well, why'd you do this to Alec? I mean, Sean and Mao, and he's so tongue-tied at that moment. If Chris had his ears and he was listening, he may have heard that and been well, hey, wait a minute. But no, he wasn't. The second he stopped talking, them ears went shut.
Okay, let me see. The whole bunch of copycat of practically everything nearly everything from my books, set me on fire, chopping my head off, false witness, and oh yeah, how about wanting to kill Simone LaRose too?
Do you remember all the times that we talked about Simone La, where I explained to you that I wanted you to kill her because she's not your character, and Evan wanted her gone from your comic?
Yeah.
Chris, you told me, you swore up and down to me that you understood the point I was trying to get across to you, and that you understood what I meant.
Yeah, I did understand that.
Well, no, you're lying to me, Chris. You obviously didn't.
It's so sad sometimes because he really is so gullible. Chris begins that little tirade there about talking about the ads again because that's all this is about. That's all Chris really wanted from the beginning, and it's turned into this giant mess where now he's drawn 3 or 4 men on trial that ends in a really horrific way. But then he tells Alec, one of the biggest reasons was to killing Simone LaRose Chew. And when Alec brings up, we told you why you need to do that. It wasn't your character. We thought you knew this. We thought you understood it. And of course, Chris, not understanding what he just said at all, he's, yeah, I understood it. No, you truly did not understand in any way, because if you did, you wouldn't be pressing this issue right now. And it's just another thing Chris wants to use to try to act like he's in the right here, when at the end of the day, it's things that he's already admitted on call that he understands and that he knows he did wrong, but he just can't admit that when it comes time to really get pressed on the issue.
No,
God, Chris, I cannot believe you did this, Chris. I thought that you were just, kind of going, yeah, just mouthing along and pretending to understand and saying what I want to hear to get me off the phone. And, I said that to you. I asked you, are you doing that? And you said no. You promised, you understood, you would comply, you believed what I was saying. But then this trial comes along, and what you're telling me right now is apparently my words went in one ear and out the other with you. And you think that me and Evan did something wrong to you. You think that you have done nothing wrong? Do you seriously believe that we are, antagonists and you are just a saint here?
Let me think about that moment.
See, moments like that right there are telling, because that's when Chris realizes that he's being called a liar. He realizes that he's not telling the truth. And when he says, let me think about that a moment, it's to wrap his mind around some type of excuse he can find. It's to try to find a way to where he doesn't have to do the thing that he doesn't want to do. Even though that it's like, it's a valid thing to do because you are the one in the wrong, he just genuinely can't do it. So he has to sit there and he has to let his brain process. And, at the end of the day, I don't even think he comes up with any answer, but he still has to let this guy know that he has to stop for a second and just think in his mind of some bullshit that he can say, which every single time we've seen him do this so far, he's come right back with a response that either has nothing to do with the original topic or just something that makes him like try to sound innocent, but at the same time, if you know Chris, you don't even gotta know Chris. If you just hear this guy's tone of voice, you know that he's full of shit.
Okay, well, while you're thinking about it, remember, don't tell me the answer that you think I want to hear. Tell me what you really believe. That's the answer that I actually want to hear, is what you really believe. I'm looking at the page here where you had like 10 people simultaneously electrocute me. Sonichu says, "Oh, I'm not gay." Chris, how many times did I tell? Oh.
That part right there always cracks me up too, because Alec brings up, like, let's look at this page where you had 10 people simultaneously electrocute me because, I called Sonichu gay. And while Alec is still talking, you can hear Chris in the background pipe up and just go, well, you did portray him as a homosexual. And you can tell that in his mind, that was a valid punishment for the absolute wrongs that Alec had done to Sonichu. Calling Sonichu that just meant that Chris wanted to zap him to the extreme in the real world. And, that's the thing. You can imagine back in the day when people would always be like calling Sonichu names, making fun of Sonichu. Chris would never just get mad enough and try to call them names back. In his mind, he genuinely wanted to like electrocute these people, like to do some pretty heinous shit. But it stems from years of being messed with by the trolls, and now he thinks, they've done so many wrongs onto him that the wrongs he should commit back to them should be like some really weird things. Like I'm saying, who draws their adversaries just getting like just ripped apart and all this stuff, puts it in their comic and acts like, that's a valid way to go about things. It's just Chris's mind. It's how Chris still talks today, While he's in jail, he talks about all the haters and the toxics and the fakes. When the dimensions merge, all of them are just gonna be like spontaneously combusting. They're gone, They'll be getting extreme misfortune, yada yada yada, whatever he talks about. But he still feels this way now to this day. Anyone who's a hater, anyone who's not on his side, he just wishes nothing but the worst for them.
Okay, another thing apparently you didn't listen to. How many times did I tell you that I never portrayed Sonichu as gay? I explained clearly to you, because you thought that he and Asperchu were gay, and I explained to you, no, they were just hugging because they're friends. They're close friends. And I thought that you understood that, but... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, but the portrayal can be misconstrued, especially with all the pink-hearted drawings that you did.
Yeah, and you did misconstrue it.
And the one where they were lying next to each other in a bed situation.
Okay, you did misconstrue it. That's true, and then you brought that up to me, and then I explained to you what it really meant, and now you apparently ignored that and just. You say, Sonichu says, you're portraying me as gay. I'm not portraying Sonichu as gay. I've never done that. The only gay characters in my comic are Wild and Simon. Simon Chu's bisexual, and I think that's it right now, actually. Well, Mitch is gay in my comic, although I haven't shown him have a lover yet. None of my fans misunderstood that. I mean, not that it really matters, because the point is that you misunderstood it and you brought it up to me and I explained it to you. I don't care that you misunderstood something. What I care is that apparently you didn't even listen when I explained to you. Because anybody can misunderstand something, but You brought it up to me, and I explained it to you, and you made it sound like you did understand, but apparently you didn't.
Actually, I did understand, but I still had the anger and rage. I still had the anger against you.
Why? Why would you have anger against me?
So in this part, you can see that Chris clearly, this whole time, doesn't matter what you want to put your finger on and say, this time he did it, this time he did it. You can just kind of estimate that he's done it every single time that Alec has brought up an issue to him, because you can see here, in the last part of these calls we looked at, when Alec brought that up and Chris was talking about it, it really seemed like, even though Chris didn't understand it, there was some type of animosity behind there, and he tries to always, he uses his emotions to try to act like, oh, it's okay, I was just really in an emotional place, and here he says, oh, I was just really angry, and I had so much anger towards you, and in his mind, that should be like, oh, okay, I understand, Chris, that's totally my fault for showing you what you did wrong to me, and then in turn you just get mad at me the next week and complain about it again, even though you told me last time that you understood. And Chris doesn't listen to a word of that. Alec goes on for about 2 minutes in dead silence from Chris, and then out of nowhere, once Chris sees it's finally his opportunity to just jump back in, it's, yeah, well, I did understand that, right after just going on and explaining that he doesn't understand it. So it's just, you can never win with this guy, and the guy playing Alec has realized that now, and like I said, I think at this point, he's just genuinely, there's some real genuine frustration here, even though it's just a troll at the end of the day.
If I explain
one big reason is continuing the blasphemous advertisements on Wikipedia against me.
Oh, really? Hey! Do you remember when I explained to you? Chris, do you remember when I explained to you last time that my ads are staying up there because you completely insulted me and didn't respect what I wanted you to do in the apology video? But yet what you're saying to me now is you think that the ads are an attack on you. You're just completely forgetting what I told you before. Or maybe you're not forgetting it, maybe you're just choosing to disregard it. They were a direct consequence of your actions. You had the power to get rid of the ads and you did nothing. So how can you be mad at me for having the ads up? When I gave you several ways out and you didn't take them.
Well, at least I would, by your request, I put and hand wrote all the apologies and everything, and killed Simone.
And here again, for the 18th time in this set of calls, Chris once again brings up that the ads are the hot button issue and the real reason this is all starting. And then Alec really starts losing his cool and saying, listen, I've given you every opportunity, and he has. He's told Chris to do some really simple shit just to get these ads off his page. Simple shit that Chris is just completely incapable of doing. And once again, he stays quiet, and then his only response to it is something as ridiculous as, yeah, well, at least I hand-wrote the apologies, which to me sounds like, oh, well, Alec, at least I sat here and listened to what you had to say and just scribbled down a little bit of notes. And then he brings up, and I also killed Simone, which, that's the reason he just drew all these guys getting killed in gory detail. We're once again back at square one again. Do you see how these phone calls go? It's just a giant friggin' loop. We loop right back to the ads. We loop right back to killing Simone. His mind is just a circle of things he wants. And when he's done talking about one thing, it just circles back around and goes to the other. And he doesn't have any time to think about what other people are telling him, because before you know it, it's time for the other thing to come back into the forefront for him to bitch about that one now.
Oh no! You said that me and Mao and Sean and Evan killed Simone. That's what your comic says. Apparently, you didn't fulfill that part of the requirement either. Because I wanted you to kill her, but you accused me of killing her, and then you killed us in your comic. What kind of apology is that? An apology is when you do something wrong and you acknowledge it and you make reparations to whoever was wrong. An apology is not where you attack the person that you owe an apology to. It's like you said, you handed me a bowl of ice cream said, "Hey, here's some ice cream for you," but then just as I reached out for it, you threw it on the ground. That's kind of what it feels like. Chris, do you remember last time I told you that you were the one who drew the Voltorb? You were the one who killed Simone.
The request of a death of one of my characters comes with a price.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Like, see, what did I just say? What did I say? It just comes in full circle, because Chris started here complaining about how you made me kill Simone LaRosechew. And then when he's trying to, like, warm up to Alec, well, I did what you said, I killed Simone LaRosechew. And then now he's saying, yeah, well, you know what, the death of one of my characters comes with a price. Like, he never knows what type of, where he's standing. He's just jumping around on all these different fronts. Like, he wants Alec to be nice to him. Well, I'll just be like, well, I did what you wanted to say. But when Chris thinks he's in control, now it's time to lay down the law. And he always wants to do this. He wants to act like he's in a position of power. But you can't act that way when you're in the same phone call with a dude begging to get these ads down that just can discombobulate you and ruin your whole day. It's always funny to see Chris do this. He acts like he's the boss here, but at the same time, he doesn't even know what he's asking for.
Request of the killing of one of my characters.
Not your character. No, Simone was not your character. She was Evan's.
Yeah, but anyway, with all the
yeah, but anyway. So you said yeah, but anyway. So are you acknowledging that Simone was not yours?
I acknowledge that Simone was not mine, but
you just but 2 minutes ago you
said I did not care very much for all the anger and torment and that such abuse that I continued to get from Evan.
What abuse did you get from him?
Verbal abuse and
like how?
In the mailbag.
He sent you emails requesting you to stop using the character that was his.
And then threatening to stick his lawyers on me?
Yeah, because you were committing illegal acts against him.
So once again, let me try to explain this from the beginning here. Chris says that the death of one of his characters comes with a price, and Alec, once he understands what Chris is saying, brings up, yeah, Chris, this isn't your character. You just admitted that this isn't your character. And when Chris doesn't want to talk about that, you can tell he's like, yeah, but anyway, just wants to move on, and with that tone of voice, it's the same thing he's been saying every time he tries to end a phone call. So you can tell he was probably trying to end it right here and there, but this phone call is still another 45 minutes long, so he wasn't getting that wish. But when Alec brings up to him, so you admit that Simon Chu or whatever the fuck, Simone, it's not your character, Chris is like, yeah, I'll admit that, but I'm still getting so much verbal abuse from Evan. And, to Chris, anyone who's slightly criticizing him is giving him verbal abuse. And then his reasoning for that is, yeah, well, he said he was going to sick his lawyers on me. And now we're back to step one, in that you just admitted that it wasn't your character and you were using it all over the place. Now, yes, this is a troll. No one really cares about Sonichu this much, but it's a good insight for Chris if he ever got into the real world and started trying to steal people's characters. And that's what Alec is trying to do here. He's trying to make Chris see that this is how it would work in the real world if you tried to pull this bullshit. But Chris, once again, he's saying that, he threatened to sick his lawyers on me, acting like that's such a threat because he actually stole this guy's character and that would be a valid reasoning for it. And his response to all that is to draw that guy getting killed by all of his Sonichu characters, because that's how adults handle shit.
Anyway, the point is Simone is dead now.
Yeah, well, no. The point is that you apparently don't listen when I talk to you. That's my point. Right?
Actually,
because you believe that you are in the right and everyone else is in the wrong. And you... Is that your TV going in the background? Do you ever turn your TV off when you talk to people on the phone? That might be kind of nice.
Actually, I do turn the TV off sometimes. All right, I'll turn it off now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Chris having the TV on in the background or something else just playing in the background is something that gets brought up in like so many troll calls. Gets brought up here, gets brought up in the Jack Thaddeus call when he brings up, why are you listening to a radio right now? And Chris is like, I'm listening to John Tesh. Like, just acting like it's so normal to do right now, which, in any other circumstance it is, but you're on the phone right now with somebody. And maybe that's a good reason for, why he's so out of it. Because he's listening to Alec, but he's just really zoned out watching whatever he's watching on TV, because Chris's whole life was like focused on TV, focused on video games and shit. Chris even tells a story about how him and his dad are out at Golden Corral and they're having dinner, and he's watching this episode of Family Guy on his PSP. Chris couldn't even go out to a dinner, he's just like a little kid. He always has to have something there to keep his mind on something. But when he's on the phone with Alec here, that could be a big reason of why he's never paying attention, because he's too focused on the TV. But then he'll just zoom back into it when he hears something he wants to hear, or he realizes, oh, wait a minute, I have to bitch about this now, and so he jumps right back into it. But yeah, he always has his TV blaring. That's because he always has to have something to watch. Chris seems like he has a very short attention span, and that's not really too surprising when you think of the person Chris is.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that. Who is Sandy, by the way? Sandy, like Simone's daughter?
Wild and Simone's daughter, yes.
How can Simone have a daughter when she's not supposed to exist in your comic? Evan might get pissed about Sandy existing.
Well, still, Sandy did not originate from Simon's shoe.
She kind of looks exactly like Simone, but with like Lisa Simpson hair. She did originate from some. I mean, she's like a clone of Simone.
She is not a clone of Simone. She is a ground-type rose shoe.
Yeah, isn't that what Simone was?
And you see, he just said that Sandy is the daughter of Simone, but now he says, well, she did not actually originate from Simone. It's literally the definition. That's her mother. That's 100% where she originated from. It's, that's, what? He's finding any type of excuse to not have to, just look at reality and realize, yeah, I'm in the wrong. He has an excuse for everything, and it's never a good excuse. I've never seen somebody never once have a good excuse for anything ever at any time.
Do you even realize the point of getting rid of Simone in the first place? It was because... Okay. Evan was mad about Simone because Simone was just a ripoff of Simon Chew. And it looks like Sandy is a ripoff of Simone, which by corollary makes her a ripoff of Simon Chew as well.
I disagree with that.
You can disagree all you want. Doesn't make it true.
There are a lot of times where Chris will do things that just make no sense, will say things that have nothing to do with the topic at hand. But this right here, this little fucking moment of him saying, being presented with a fact, being presented with the fact that you're using this character as just a knockoff of the knockoff you've already killed off because you can't stand to lose her, it's the same character that's not supposed to exist, and it's right there before our eyes. And instead of just coming up with an excuse of why that's not the case, Chris just scoffs and goes, I disagree with that. Or, why do you disagree with that? I wish Alec asked him that, why? How do you disagree with that? But then again, he wouldn't have gotten an answer from it. It's one of those things where it's he's not even trying anymore. He's so caught, and he knows he's caught, but he's gonna keep up this air of I know more than you, and keep saying, I disagree with that. That's not true. But we all know it's true. But you'll never get that answer out of Chris.
You can tell me the sky is orange as much as you want. It doesn't change the fact the sky is blue. I mean, judges will agree with that.
Okay, well, actually, still, Sandy does have an origin. That's definitely not one that Simone was from. Just plainly based off of some other character.
She origins from
She
Simone.
actually was born as a Rosie. And some
from Simone. This probably doesn't matter a whole lot. I bet you're not ever going to use Sandy again.
Oh yes,
I mean,
I will. Because
well,
we need a constructor. We need the main constructor in the city of Quickville, and Simone was that. So now Sandy has to be the one that fills in Simone's shoes.
Can't you just have like a construction crew, like construction workers with vehicles? How can one person really do all the construction?
Simone was head builder, and she did have a crew. And when you take out the leader, the whole crew falls.
Okay, don't you think that crew, I'm sure she had like a second in command or something, right? Don't you think that her crew might feel kind of insulted that you have like a person who is a week old just take control? You inherited the crew. I mean, so you've got a construction crew that runs like a kingdom.
Sandy's not going to take the reins prematurely like that.
You just said that
he's going through heavy training.
Why? So she's child labor?
No, not child labor.
Well, she's like a week old, and you already had her assassinate people. I mean, that's...
The point of that was to get revenge against Evan for even thinking of killing off Simone.
But you killed Simone.
Because I felt forced to, but between...
That's correct. We did force you to, because you refused to acknowledge it.
If you ever need an explanation on how real Chris sees his world of Quickville, just point to this and look at how Chris is trying to explain to this guy that, Sandy, the week-old Sonichu or Rosechu, we need her for our construction team. Yes, she has a whole crew, but we need a whole demolition crew. And this, the way Chris is trying to explain this is this is a problem he has to deal with as the mayor. Because in his head he really does. He talks about it like it's some real serious, huge thing. Oh man, I gotta write the permits for this crew tomorrow to do work down here on town. And that's Sandy Rosechu. She better be there, only a week old, to be overseeing this entire construction job. He's so ridiculous when he talks about that. And Alec brings up too, it's only a week old character that Chris just brought in, and he said, oh, you're probably not even going to use her anymore. But Chris is right quick to pop up and go, oh yes I will, because now to him this is a living, breathing person, a living, breathing thing that assassinated another living, breathing thing at only 1 week old. So Sandy Rosechu's out here just getting the full life experience before she can even, I guess she can walk. She probably could walk when she came out of the womb, but she's gonna be the most the most well experienced, world traveled 6-month-old the world's ever seen.
Chris, what is copyright infringement? Give me your definition.
Copyright infringement.
Yes, I'd like to hear your definition.
The misuse of a character that originally belonged to somebody else.
Oh, really? Okay, now how does that connect to Simone? You misuse Simone because she rightfully belonged to someone else.
Yeah, well, still, even Steven Stanchia was originally mine, and I have the copyright registration forms to prove that.
So, what does that have to do with Simone? You stole. Don't change the subject, Chris. You stole Simon Chu and screwed around with him. 2 wrongs make a right. Is that the case?
That is not the point I am trying to make.
Well, then why do you...
That is fairly accurate, though.
When we're talking about Simone, why do you bring up Sonichu's copyright? What does that have to do with it?
Because you drew him in your pages without my consent, and then made him look like he could look like a homosexual or appear as such.
It's funny how Chris's definition of copyright would completely make his comic book look so bad considering all of the characters he uses. Because as soon as Alec brings up, it wasn't cool for you to use Simon Chew, right? Chris's first thing he says is, yeah, well, Sonichu this, and if you're Alec, and Alec at this point is just talking way too much. He's not even letting Chris get a word out. Even when Chris goes to respond, Alec keeps talking over him. At this point in the call, it's kind of glaring. I don't know if you guys have been noticing it too, because this is a call about Chris. So we kind of want to hear what Chris has to say, but Alec at some points just keeps going on about some dumb shit. But Chris's definition of copyright infringement would really just make his comic book fall to pieces because, you got every character you could possibly name. Sonic is in there, like all the Sonic characters are in there. We bring it up a lot. The Autobots, he uses Meg Griffin, he uses Peter Griffin, I'm pretty sure at one point. He uses whoever he wants to use in there, and it shouldn't matter, because Chris can do whatever he wants and he'll be able to make money off it because he's allowed to do that. In his mind, there's no reason he wouldn't be allowed to do that, but you know what? There's plenty of reasons why other people wouldn't be allowed to do that in Chris's mind, and they're the ones in the wrong. But we're going to have to talk more about this tomorrow, my friends, because I'm going to have to get out of here. So before I do that, I want to give a shout out to Vanessa, Krabby, your mom, Sky, Liz Vender, Club Doom, Cody Hale, Echo Spectre, Scaly Schisms, The Night Owl, Kaitan, Fiendland's Party Place, Churlish, Music Biz Marty's Bong, Pythea, Moochie, Grant M, Brian 1, Isaiah, Mick Surly, Chris Chan's Fanta Bottle, Alright Stingy, Trademark, Vaga, Adrian Lara, Sky Fitzpatrick, Akiba's Beat Fan, Gypsy Panda, G-Man and Blake Alston, you guys are absolute fucking goats, and all y'all who made it this far, you're a goat as well. As I said in the beginning of this, we only got 2 parts left of this, so I hope you guys enjoy it. I know this is kind of running its course by now, but we gotta finish this off, y'all. Once this is done, we'll have 20 parts you can go back to at any time and listen to, and I think somewhere down the line, I'll try to compile every one of these parts together into like one giant 10-hour, just this big thing you can just play while you're sleeping if you want to, do whatever you want with it. But yeah, it's been fun. I still have my fun recording these, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon, but sadly it has to because we are running out of phone call. But don't think there's any lack of things we can cover in Chris Chan's whole library because there are tons of things we can look at. So down in the comments below, comment some moments and some videos, some sagas, so anything you want me to react to regarding Chris, anything you want me to cover, because, soon we're going to have to cover some other stuff too. So until I see y'all in the next one, y'all take care. Have a safe rest of your day. We only got one more day to the weekend, my friends. It is almost here. You can almost taste it. And, before you know it, you're going to be sitting up, got your feet up, just sparking one up and having a good old relaxing time. And yeah, I hope for the best for all y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Take care, my friends.